Family Fights with Kyle Harrison and Matthew Blumenthal. Boom, there's your intro. How'd I do?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Family Fights podcast. With me, as always, is my little cousin Matthew Blumenthal. I'm Kyle Harrison.
How are we doing, everyone? Welcome back.
Hell yeah, just wanted to say I'm happy to be back with you guys. As you probably noticed, I took the last week off. I was on vacation. It was a lot of fun. But I missed you guys, missed talking to my cousin Matthew, missed talking about fights. So I'm really happy to be back into the swing of things with our Vegas 48 breakdown for UFC coming up this weekend. We're going to start off with some current events, as always.
Yes, sir.
Getting right into it, we got some crazy news. Dariush pulls out. I think people are going to say they saw this coming, but he is legitimately injured. And the gangster, Bobby Green, stepping in to face Islam Makhachev. When we first made these notes, it wasn't confirmed, but now it's officially confirmed. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, I love it. And like Kyle said, it's a definite genuine injury for Benny. He got his toe stuck in the mat as he shot for a takedown. I think it might have been like on the side of the cage, in that like quarter inch where it doesn't meet. And then it wasn't an ankle injury. I read that Baudot said he broke his tibia. So kind of just with the whole takedown got snapped, but Bobby Green steps in. I mentioned on the podcast last time that everyone was calling for a Bobby Green main event, and I didn't agree. But in this sense, stepping in, I definitely agree with it. I think it's a low risk, high reward fight for Bobby Green since he steps in on 10 days notice against a rising superstar. And if he can come out with a win, then for fuck's sake, he's in the question.
Mm-hmm. But if he loses, it's okay because
right.
Everyone expects him to lose. It's one of these situations where his stock rises no matter what because everybody's happy with him for saving the main event if he loses. And so what? You lost to Islam Makhachev, who's a future title challenger on 10 days notice. So like you said, it's kind of a win-win for him. Right.
If he wins, everyone's like, holy crap, that was awesome. And if he loses, everyone's like, well, you were supposed to lose. That's great. But it's also great for Islam Makhachev haters, which I'm not a hater of him. I'm not the biggest supporter of him. But if he beats Bobby Green, no one's going to be begging for him to get a title shot. I think he still might get it. But it's like you beat Bobby Green. Like we love Bobby Green, but he's not the highest level. Notice. Exactly. And I feel like every time someone beats Nasrat, you fight Islam on short notice because Dan Hooker did it last time.
I think I saw somebody say that on Twitter, and I sent it to you. It's after you beat Nasrat Haqparast, you're destined to fight Islam Makhachev on short notice. So we'll see how it goes for Bobby Green. Probably isn't making it out of the first round. Maybe not. Maybe into the second round, but I gotta imagine that he gets taken down and submitted pretty easily.
Yeah, everyone's saying this is a tough matchup. Bobby Green does have solid boxing, and he's hard to figure out with his hands swinging down at his knees. And he does have good defensive wrestling, but let's be honest, even phenomenal defensive wrestling is nothing compared to these Dagestani guys, especially someone of Islam's caliber.
Right. Dan Hooker has phenomenal defensive wrestling as well.
And he got subbed in a minute.
We saw what happened there.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on to our next topic. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the pound-for-pound rankings. Israel Adesanya overtaking Alexander Volkanovski, which I don't totally agree with. I don't want to take everything away from Adesanya's performances and how big of a star he is, which I'll talk about a little bit more when we get to my thoughts on UFC 271. But I just think with the quality of Volk's wins and who he's beat, he deserves to be in that number 2 pound-for-pound spot. What do you think?
You can see it. I sent you my pound-for-pound rankings a few days ago, and I had Israel at number 1 over Kamaru.
Really?
And I see what people are saying with Volkanovski, but his wins, especially when you look at the Holloway ones, we're still debating that to this day. But when Israel wins decisively, and I don't understand.
Not true. People debate Israel's win over Yoel. People are debating this last one.
That's okay. Well, the Yoel one was so long ago. I feel like he's done that.
When you're talking about pound for pound, you have to talk about their entire career.
But anybody who says Rob won that fight is delusional. Is Israel's just so good that if you don't get completely dominated, people just assume you won. But I think Israel's very good. I think, yes, he got taken down, but his ability to stand right back up and get himself out of danger right away was phenomenal. His use of range, his boxing, his kickboxing is phenomenal. I'm going to agree with people telling me that I have a recency bias, putting Israel over Kamaru. I think Kamaru's a phenomenal fighter, but I guess maybe recency bias.
That's just asinine.
What do you mean? Putting him above Kamaru?
I mean, honestly, Kamaru just deserves that. I don't know how you could put Israel.
I feel like compared to the challenger, Covington's skills are comparable to Rob, as they are both the very second guy, and I think that Israel's performance was better against Rob than Kamaru's was against Covington.
Okay, so you're just going off of recent fights.
It's just like, I mean, it's a ranking. I mean, I look at the most recent fight first.
Really? Pound for pound, I feel like you need to weigh their entire career.
Can we just mention John Jones getting put back in the pound for pound rankings?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's BS. And Gaethje not being in the pound for pound at all, I just realized.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because you texted me this the other day. Gaethje should definitely be in the pound for pound.
Absolutely.
Anyways, next topic, Diaz versus Poirier, big question mark. Is it going to happen? When's it going to happen? They're talking a lot of shit to each other. They're both seem to be critical of the UFC about how slow they've been to put together this fight and to put together this deal. From both of our perspectives as wannabe managers, what's going on here? Like, it seems like both these guys want to fight. The fans want the fight to happen. It's a fight that's going to sell well. So what's the holdup? Yeah,
I don't know why they didn't put this on 272, especially because it was a non-title card already. But I definitely think this fight is going to happen because I feel like both Diaz and Poirier are at a state in their career where they're happy with their careers. They've both mentioned they will happily walk away right now. I don't think Poirier gets in the ring again unless it's against Nate, and I don't think Nate gets in the ring again unless it's against Poirier.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And Poirier I love his mentality right now. He's just living life right now. Have you seen his Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, his Twitter's hilarious. He's just joking about, like, someone is like, oh, the second worst pain you can ever feel is childbirth right behind burning alive. And he's like, yeah. Have you ever lost two title fights by rear naked choke?
Mm-hmm.
I just love him. I think he's really loose right now. And I think if they step in, I think Poirier obliterates Nate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Poirier absolutely obliterates Nate, even at 170.
I think Nate's looking for a way out.
Nate's not a natural 170. Not a natural welterweight either, and I think Dustin's still going to be bigger than him at 170.
Yeah,
Dustin's
Poirier's a big
huge.
boy.
Poirier's huge.
Yeah,
he walks around at 190. There's no way Nate Diaz walks around at 190 pounds.
Yeah, Poirier said he's walking around at like 183 this week.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Next topic, bare knuckle. Matthew wanted to talk about this, so I'm going to let him take it away.
Yeah, no, I just want to let everyone know, obviously, we mainly focus on the UFC because they are the biggest organization in the world. But bare knuckle boxing, fighting championship, whatever they want to call themselves, has Knuckle Mania 2 this Saturday. I would definitely try to tune in for the Chad Mendes fight because Chad Mendes actually... What a lot of people don't is Chad Mendes still has 3 fights left on his UFC deal, and the UFC let him go to bare knuckle, but they still retain rights for him. And if you've seen videos of him in the gym, he looks like an absolute killer. He looks phenomenal right now. So if you're someone who's just getting into MMA and you've heard about Chad, but you really know what he's about, I would definitely go watch this because I think he's going to look really good. And it's definitely good to expose yourself to other MMA organizations as well. I know bare knuckle is not full MMA, but definitely I would diversify yourself and look at other fighting opportunities because I mean they're all great. So yeah, I would definitely tune in this weekend. Sorry, getting a phone call.
Hell yeah, we're all gonna pray for Chad Mendes over there in bare knuckle. Scary stuff.
Yeah.
Let's hope he doesn't get his face cut open too badly or catch some brain damage. But
yeah.
Anyways, moving on to our last topic of current events. Since I wasn't with Matthew last week, talking about UFC 271, I just wanted to give my thoughts. I thought it was a great card, such a fun pay-per-view. I picked 10 fights right out of 14, which is pretty good for me. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to give you guys my whole breakdown or my best bets, but I hit a massive parlay. It was a four-legger. It was Casey O'Neill, Kyler Phillips. Oh fuck, I forget the other two, but it was a nice cashed $150 out of that parlay.
I was underwhelmed by Casey O'Neill.
Yeah. I liked her performance. I thought Motta is really tough. Like,
yeah, she is.
She wasn't going to be able to finish Motta on the feet for sure. So I was impressed with her cardio. I was impressed with her volume. She didn't let up the whole fight. The fact that was a split decision.
Oh, that's
just.
I spoke about it in the last episode.
Mind.
It's blasphemy.
This is blasphemy. We've talked about this before, but something needs to be done with these judges.
Yeah.
There needs to be some. And also, I noticed. I've never noticed this before, but the referees were judging fights.
Yeah, I noticed that. I remember looking at my dad. I was like, "What?" I can't remember what referee it was, but I was like, "What is he doing?"
There were a couple.
Judging?
Beltran judged a fight. Mergliata judged the 2 fights.
I don't hate it, to be honest.
I know. I kind of hate it because it's like both are such important jobs.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be spreading yourself so thin.
No, I saw something interesting. Someone tweeted, I'll try to find it, that on Fight Pass, a judge should be able to go back, watch the tape, and describe what he sees and why they're scoring rounds like this and throw it on Fight Pass. I think that would be really interesting, and I would definitely tune in for that.
Oh, God, they would never do that.
No, and I think that should be every sport. Every sport referee should be interviewed, and we should be able to hear explanations from them.
Yeah, and then how about Tai Tuivasa, man? He blew the roof off of Houston. I feel like that was just too much for Derek Lewis too soon to be fighting in Houston again.
I do too.
His loss against Cyril Gane. And he seemed to have a much more calm demeanor going into this fight, but I don't know how much of that was just him putting on.
Yeah.
It looked like the pressure totally got to him again. Like after the first round was over and those ground shots didn't land. They landed. They landed. Rewind the tape. They fucking landed, but they didn't rock Tai. It looked like that's exactly when Derek Lewis's soul left his body, and coming into the second round, he just looks like a completely different Derek Lewis. I never bought for a second that the pressure was completely gone, but I disagree with the fact that the pressure is the reason he wilted. I think he wilted because nobody has ever eaten shots like that, and he hit Tai with his best shots of his career, and Tai just kept swinging. So I think that completely threw Derek off, and he was just fucking done. Oh my god, dude! When Tai stood up from that in the first round and just started fucking swinging and banging right back at Derek, I was on my feet screaming. I was like, "This is amazing."
I said this on the podcast. Nobody has ever eaten strikes like that from Derek Lewis, let alone got up and swung back.
Yeah, you literally could see Derek Lewis step back after that and get confused.
Yeah, I said Tai should be fighting down the rankings last podcast. Do you think he should be fighting up or down?
Down. I think he should get another fight down the rankings. People saying that he should fight Gane.
No.
Or I even saw somebody saying he should fight Stipe for the interim title.
No.
Unimaginable.
Dude, he would get demolished.
I couldn't imagine him fighting Gane or Stipe right now.
No.
How old is he?
Tai 28. He, to be honest,
got time.
He knocked Derek Lewis out, and if you say that was a dive, you're completely wrong. There was an elbow right on the jaw that knocked him out cold. But let's be honest, Tai did not look phenomenal in that fight. And I even texted you, if Derek Lewis would have won, Derek Lewis wrestling someone because he knows he's basically too heavy for anyone to get up would have been the best game plan I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. It was great. But Tai definitely didn't look good enough to face Gane.
Yeah, definitely not. And then moving on to the main event of that, UFC 271. Yeah, I thought Izzy did everything he needed to do, man, to get the victory. First round, he scored a nice-looking knockdown, if I remember correctly, and then...
Southpaw cross.
Nice.
It was clean.
And then the rest of the fight, he just did what he had to do. Robert Whittaker had a good fifth round. But besides that, man, I agree with you. I just don't see where all these people are coming from saying that Rob won that fight. I think people, like you said, expect such dominance from Israel Adesanya that when he puts on a fight like this that is kind of close, people will say he lost because it wasn't a crazy knockout like he did to Paulo Costa, or it wasn't a pillar-to-post beating like he did to Marvin Vettori.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest question for me was, did Rob win 1 round or 2? It was never a question if Rob won the fight because we all knew he lost. And did you hear the comments that Bisping was making? I didn't have a huge problem with it. I definitely think he should have been more reserved.
I never pay close attention to what the commentators are saying.
Yeah, I mean, these days they're really trying to turn the tide.
They're so bad.
They're turning the tide to have all former fighters as commentators. I think that's the worst idea they could ever do because John Anik is the best commentator by far because he never fought. No, I know, but what I'm saying is he's the best commentator because he never fought. When we're fighters, so
true, but like they're the color commentators.
Yes, but they overtake John.
Brendan Fitzgerald and John Anik, they both do a fantastic job as the color commentators.
But they shouldn't be
ex-fighters as analysts, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, but right now the ex-fighters are talking more, which they're going into analysis, not telling us what's happening. And when we talk fights, we're trying to figure out stuff. When John Anik is talking on the mic, he's just clearly saying, Adesanya hit him with a jab. And now he moves into this. But when Bisping's talking, he's like, so this is what happened, and this is why he's winning. Like, okay, that's not your job 100% of the time. I think former fighters should spoke when asked to, and John Anik should really take over the commentating part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree with you. Yeah, so those are our current events. Let's go on to our UFC Vegas 48 breakdown.
Sir.
Like I told Matthew, I felt like our breakdowns were getting a little dry before. You know, I would kind of read through my notes, and Matthew would read through his notes, and then we'd discuss. So I'm going to try to approach my breakdowns a little bit differently this time. Part of it is because I didn't have time to do all of the tape study that I usually do. But part of it is because I feel like Matthew is a lot better than me at looking through the tape study. So I'm going to let Matthew focus on giving you guys the nitty-gritty tape notes, and I'm going to go ahead and just give you more of my gut feeling in the breakdowns, which, to be honest, is what has been more successful for me over the past 2 years that I've been sports betting on the UFC. I find that when I look too much into the film, I overthink things, and I always make the wrong pick. So I'm going to go with my heart. It's what's made me the most money. I am profitable over 2 years, and that is thanks to my instinct. So, yeah, that is how it's going to work from now on. Matthew, got anything to add?
Yeah, we don't want to say that I'm better at breakdowns because I honestly feel that Kyle's better. But what we're saying is I have a odd way of looking at fights where I notice technique a lot faster or a lot more in-depth than people. Like when I watch fights, I don't look to see who's winning. I see who's throwing the straight punches, who's throwing with better technique. And then I'm very hit or miss on the stuff that Kyle's very good at. And sometimes if we can just mesh that together, I feel like our breakdowns will become much better for you guys.
Absolutely. With that being said, let's go on to our first fight. I'm so excited about this fight. We got Johnny Walker at plus 205 taking on Jamahal Hill, minus 265. Jamahal Hill is my absolute fucking boy. He's my favorite light heavyweight. There's no question about it.
I agree.
I've been a fan of this kid since he was on the Contender Series. He just straight up bangs. Like, what a gangster this guy is. And the reason why I like him so much is because for a while before the UFC changed their marijuana policy, or before USADA changed their marijuana policy, I guess, every week he would post on his Instagram story a little selfie with him and his bong, and he would tag Dana White, and he would tag the UFC, and he'd go, at Dana White, at UFC, why won't you let me smoke? Almost every day he'd post this, and I just thought that was hilarious. Shout out Jamahal Hill. But yeah, with that being said, he's taking on Johnny Walker. On paper, this looks like it's going to be a firefight, and I think it is going to be a firefight because Jamahal Hill's incapable of being in a boring fight. Johnny Walker is capable of being in a boring fight, but Jamahal Hill definitely is not. I mean, you look at the loss he just took to Paul Craig. He probably made the dumbest fight IQ decision I've ever seen when he decided to re-engage Paul Craig on the ground. But you saw him swinging and banging with his broken arm, so you know the dude has heart. You know he's an exciting fighter. Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, I love Jamahal Hill. I mean, I think he's the only guy that has ever popped his arm back in and then just went out and partied like nothing ever happened after a fight.
Such a badass.
For him, he's a monster who's very good at fighting.
Such good boxing.
Yeah, and he brought his son along this time, and I think
It's so awesome. I love seeing that all over Instagram.
Yeah, I think he's in a really good mindset, and that's something I love looking for. His only loss came when he got his arm snapped in half, basically. I noticed he has great footwork. So when someone
and great head movement.
Yeah,
for MMA. A lot of MMA fighters don't utilize the head movement the way that Jamahal Hill's able to.
Yeah, and his feet, when someone goes to low kick him, instead of checking it, he's going to slide his feet back. So if you do kick him, you're just going to graze his shit and hurt yourself more. And that also allows better counters than checking, in my opinion. And he uses his hands to block very well. His boxing defense is phenomenal. A lot of guys in the UFC just try to use their feet to get out of the way. Jamahal Hill's very good at knowing when to get out of the way and when to keep his feet stable and use his hands for defense. And he has killer speed. And one thing that I really like about Jamahal Hill is, yes, he's very exciting, but he's very within himself. So he's going to look to kind of he's going to walk you down. And the second you think you're out of danger, he snaps. He's going to lull you into a sense of confidence. And the second you drop your hand slightly, he's just going to throw mean strikes. He is very good form. You saw against Jimmy Crute. I didn't even see either of those hooks that knocked Crute down land.
Right.
Like,
they come so fast.
They right around the guard. Perfect technique. But then Johnny Walker is massive. He is a big boy. He could easily...
Yeah, but they have the same reach.
No, I know. But just, like, if you just look at them, I think Johnny Walker could be a fucking heavyweight, dude. He's definitely active at times, but he has a difficult time landing. So he pressures well with his feet, but he's always half an inch away from landing his strikes, which isn't great for him. He walks forwards but has little IQ in the sense that he doesn't cut off the octagon, so he kind of lets his opponents dictate where the fight takes place in the octagon. If he took different lateral steps to keep his opponent where he wanted them, he would do a lot better. He is great BJJ, but at times he lacks the ability to reach his full potential, where he knows what to do, but sometimes he just hits a block. Or let's say he was drilling something in the gym, and then Jamahal Hill does something slightly different than his training partner. He doesn't really have something to get around that. And I think the issue with the guys from Ireland is that they don't have great training partners.
I was just going to say, what training partners?
So the issue, Kyle and I have had conversations about if we like small camps or big camps, and there's pros and cons to either. But with this camp, they don't really have anyone to bring in. So Johnny Walker hasn't seen anyone of Jamahal Hill's skill in 5 months. So it's going to be an absolute killer when he gets in there. He has decent head movement, and that's thanks to his striking coach, Owen Roddy, who I love. I think he's a much better trainer than John Kavanagh. But with that bad camp, I definitely don't like the line on the fight, to be honest. I think Jamahal Hill's going to win, but I don't like how big the line is for the value.
I agree. My take on this fight is basically that Johnny Walker has suspect cardio. He's got an even more suspect chin. He has suspect volume, and he has suspect fight IQ. Those are all bad areas to be suspect in if you're going up against Jamahal Hill, because Jamahal Hill has great cardio. He's got great volume. He's got accurate strikes, and he's very smart when it comes to his striking. So I think Jamahal Hill gets the knockout probably before the third round. Like Matthew said, I really don't like the line. And something else I want to mention, I should have mentioned this before the breakdown, but this card is not a card that I have a whole lot of exposure on, and what I mean by that is I'm not betting a lot on this card. I think it's a super greasy card with a lot of lines that are really steamed, meaning a lot of people have already placed their bets, and these lines are pushed out. Like, you see a lot of minus 200 lines, see a lot of minus 300 lines even. So, like, an important thing when it comes to betting philosophy is not pushing bets when there are no good bets to make. So
don't bet for the sake of betting.
Exactly. So, yeah, man, this is going to be a lot of passes this week. So my pick is Jamahal Hill by knockout, but this is probably going to be an official pass for me. What about you?
Yeah, if you really, really want to bet or you just want to have fun, I feel like Jamahal Hill is not your guy to go with. I think he's a very exciting guy. Definitely he should definitely be the favorite, but not at the number he's at. I think that line's just a little too wide.
Yeah, moving on to our next fight. Our co-main event, Kyle Daukus, minus 250 versus Jamie Pickett, plus 198. I really don't like Jamie Pickett. He's one of my favorite fighters on the UFC roster to fade. Unfortunately, I faded him last time when he got the win over Joseph Holmes. But yeah, he's just super unimpressive to me. Doesn't have great fight IQ. And on the other side of that, Kyle Daukus looked really impressive in the short little couple minutes we got to watch him fight Kevin Holland.
Really?
Yeah, I thought he looked good. He was definitely going to win that fight.
He was going to win, but I don't know if he looked ultra impressive.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have a ton of exposure on this card, so I'm going to let Matthew take it away with his notes, but my quick pick is going to be Kyle Daukus for sure, and he's going to be part of my parlay as well.
Kyle Daukus, he's very long. And even you could hear Kevin Holland, who obviously never stops talking in the octagon, DC in their last fight, said, Daukus is long. And Holland goes, yeah, he's fucking long. And that could be trouble for Pickett. Kyle Daukus isn't afraid to try to use his grappling. He has good check hooks. I'd like to see him use his hands a little more to draw out reactions. He kind of just throws his hands when they're necessary instead of trying to set up his offense with jabs, double jabs, and triple jabs. He seems like a basic counter striker who just stands there and waits. Now, sometimes that works. Like Stephen Thompson was great at sitting back and waiting, but we've seen over the years, I feel like the tide is turning in MMA where counter strikers are getting faded, where they kind of get pressured into an oblivion now. He has good BJJ rolls on the ground. He goes from position to position very well. And then Jamie Pickett, like Kyle said, I love fading him, but I have an issue because I was ultra unimpressed with him when I watched his tape for the first time when he was fighting Joseph Holmes, and I wasn't ultra impressed when I looked at what he did against Holmes, but he still won that fight. He seems to bite on jabs even when they're very out of range. He kind of seems scared in the octagon at times. He doesn't have great form with his kicks. He blitzes straight forwards, and the issue with that is it's very hard to counter those people. And like I said earlier, Kyle Daukus is a good counterer. So if Jamie Pickett can change the angle, which means instead of going straight on, we come in from different angles and we change it right before we throw our strikes, that would be good for him. He keeps his chin in the air when he does walk forward, and he has decent footwork. In his last fight, he was able to just barely slide out of range. And originally, when I wrote down my breakdowns, I said that Jamie Pickett was going to win just because last time I faded him and it didn't work, so I kind of had faith in him. But after just reading that over in my head, I'm going to change my decision to Kyle Daukus because I feel like he's just the young guy. Jamie Pickett might be in over his head after he beat a guy last fight, but I think Daukus is going to be able to probably work out a boring decision.
Definitely. Daukus is going to utilize the clinch. He's going to utilize his superior wrestling and jiu-jitsu to get the victory. Minus 250, I think, is a fair price tag for Daukus, but it's not a price tag I like to bet on pretty much anybody. So another pass for me. Moving on, we got Parker Porter, heavyweights. Minus 250, Parker Porter taking on Alan Baudot. Baudot. I know it bothers Matthew when people pronounce people's names wrong, but I don't feel that way. I don't care. I think it's funny. I like to pronounce some people's names wrong.
I'm also very bad at pronunciations, may I add.
Anyways, I think Alan Baudot is probably the worst fighter on the UFC, male or female, any weight class. He probably gets my money for that award. He might be one of the only people in the UFC to get signed off of a loss. It shows on a win as on his record. I'm pulling it up right now. It was on the Canadian regional scene, I think.
Yep, that's a Canadian last name.
It was against Todd Stout. He got his ass beat. He got knocked the fuck out, and then Todd Stout tested positive for marijuana, and for some reason the Canadian Athletic Association or Commission, whatever they call themselves, instead of overturning it to a no contest, decided to overturn it to a victory for Baudot. Guess what? His next UFC fight, he gets destroyed by Tom Aspinall. So, man, I don't know if you can name anybody else who got signed to the UFC off of a knockout loss, but Alan Baudot did. Since then, he's gotten knocked out by Tom Aspinall. He had a no contest against Rodrigo Nascimento, which he lost. and now he's fighting Parker Porter. So, yeah, this guy, easily the worst fighter in UFC history. Also, those 2 fights, all those fights that he had before coming to the UFC were at light heavyweight. Got knocked out by Todd Stout at light heavyweight, and then weighs in at 206 pounds to fight Todd Stout. First UFC fight, weighs in at 254 pounds to fight Tom Aspinall. So, like, where did all that weight come from? Not surprised he got knocked out. Next fight against Rodrigo Nascimento, weighs in at 246. So he lost a little bit of weight, still gets knocked out, but fight gets changed to a no contest, but he still got knocked out. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is probably the easiest pick on the card, Parker Porter. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I actually agree in some places and disagree in others. Parker Porter is an absolute unit. He's massive. His legs are the largest legs I've ever seen in the world. He takes a shot to give a shot, and then he looks to take the fight to the ground. He's going to eat a shot, hit you, get you into a clinch, and take you down. And then once he's there, he's going to try a few submissions. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull them off, but he's really going to put his weight down on you and make you exhausted. All while this is happening, he's hitting you in the face with ground and pound. Cardio could be an issue, but he still continues to throw well in the third. And then the Canadian Baudot, may I just add, in the last few months, Canada has gone from one of my favorite countries to one of my least favorite countries with everything that they've done in regards to hockey. So fuck Canada. Allen is going to walk forwards and he's going to throw. I think Allen has tremendous speed, and he uses it to his advantage. He's going to overwhelm people and force them to fight his fight. He defends takedowns pretty well, I noticed. And he has good movement going backwards and fights well off of his back foot at times. So I don't know if this is the easiest pick for me because originally I picked Baudot. I think he has a chance to win because he could just overwhelm Parker Porter. If Parker Porter can hold up, if his chin can hold up, I think he could win. But my gut is telling me that Baudot is going to get a flash knockout.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. This is heavyweight and anything can happen. I think that's why a lot of people are taking the dog shot on Baudot because there's always that puncher's chance. But no, my official pick is going to be Parker Porter by submission.
Cool. We got the official family fights disagreement.
Hell yeah. Moving on, we got the veteran Jim Miller plus 140 taking on the newbie Nikolas Motta minus 172. Isn't that hilarious? We've got like 32 something UFC fights for Jim Miller and 0 UFC fights for Nikolas Motta.
Yeah, I was thinking, could you imagine getting signed to the UFC and a few weeks later you get a call and it's like, we got you a fight. He's like, oh, who am I fighting? Some low-ranked...
You're fighting the little engine that could, the man with the greatest cardio.
Oh yeah, by the way, you're fighting Jim Miller. The fuck I am? All right.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be my first dog shot on the card. Mostly the experience factor. I know that Jim Miller is 38.
Yeah, he's pretty old. I think he's 38.
Let me confirm that. Jim Miller, 38 years old, has so many UFC fights, man. He's been fighting in the UFC since 2008 was his first UFC fight. So this guy's been fighting in the UFC for, 15 years?
Yeah, he's an absolute veteran of the game.
Absolute veteran. On the flip side, Nikolas Motta's making his UFC debut. He's got decent jiu-jitsu from what I've seen out of him.
Great jiu-jitsu.
Great jiu-jitsu, although he likes to use his jiu-jitsu to set up ground and pound wins because most of his victories are knockouts. Doesn't honestly have too many submission wins. But yeah, just my gut's telling me to go with the dog in Jim Miller. I think the experience is going to be too much. The durability is going to be too much. The cardio is going to be too much. Yeah, Nikolas Motta, I'm sorry. You have to make your debut against Jim Miller, but what do you got for us, man?
Yeah, Jim Miller, like I said, is an absolute veteran of the game. He's obviously not what he once was in his prime, but he is still a force to be reckoned with. He has good stand-up. He has a power cross that he lands very well, and he still throws knees and kicks. He's definitely older, but he doesn't fight like it most of the time. His knees and kicks are effective. He is a master on the ground. All you need to know about him as a ground fighter is that he submitted Charles Oliveira. That's what you need to know. If you can submit Charles Oliveira, you are a threat to anyone in the world. He's going to pressure you with strikes, get you to the clinch, and take you down. He's very good at that. And Nikolas Motta, the dude's going to walk forwards and take a shot to give a shot. He's going to take one, but he's going to return 3 or 4, which I love. He swings big. He swings wide. He doesn't have great form on them, but he seems to just overwhelm his opponents. Obviously, there's not a ton of tape on him since he's making his UFC debut. I'd like to see a little more calculated aggression with straights and cleaner hooks. But it looks like he's able to connect, which is odd for me. When I usually see guys throwing these wide, loopy punches, they usually don't land, but Motta seems to land on these blitzes. He has great transitions on the ground. He moves position to position insanely well, and he throws some of the meanest ground and pound strikes ever. So I'm actually going to take Motta here. I would not be surprised if the veteran pulls this fight off, but I think Motta is just going to have that dog mentality of, listen, I'm going against Jim Miller. I'm going to give it everything I got and hopefully land 1 or 2 on the feet, get him to the ground and pound, either knockout, ground and pound win or a lengthy decision win. But if it is a decision, I would not be surprised with a split decision or a 29-28 for Motta.
All right, so we got another family fights disagreement.
We got to get a button.
Yeah, we do. Next comment, or at least something for you to edit and post.
Yeah.
Next fight, we got Joaquin Buckley minus 150 versus Abdul Razak Alhassan plus 122. Yeah, I've just never been super high on Joaquin Buckley at all. I feel like people definitely overvalue him because he has one of the sickest knockouts of all time over Impa Kasaganai. But besides that, in all of his fights, he seems to be getting outboxed before he lands that lucky shot. He seems to be a slow starter who gets frazzled a lot and who doesn't listen to his coaches. He seems, when he gets in the cage, to kind of forget everything and throw like a crazy wild man. But on the flip side, so does Abdul Razak Alhassan. I mean, this is a dream matchup for people who love violence because somebody is getting knocked out. I feel like this fight to go the distance is something that will never happen, and I'm taking another dog shot. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. With Abdul Razak Alhassan, I think he's the stronger fighter. I think he's slightly bigger than Joaquin Buckley, if I'm not mistaken, and I feel like he's going to be able to exploit Joaquin Buckley's tendency to start slow because all of his finishes come early. I mean, he knocked out Chirico in round 1, 17 seconds. Knocked out Nico Price, round 1, 43 seconds. Knocked out Saba Hamasi, round 1, 4 minutes, but still round 1. So yeah, did it twice. Knocked out Saba Hamasi twice in a row in the first round. Knocked out Charlie Ward, round 1, 53 seconds. So, yeah, I feel like Abdul Razak Hassan catches an early knockout. If he doesn't, he gets knocked out late. That's my take on this fight. So, yeah, I'm going Abdul Razak Hassan. Feed me another dog.
Did you see who's in Joaquin Buckley's corner?
I did see who's in Joaquin Buckley's corner. It's that Detroit self-defense guy.
Yeah,
so
that
this is
douche.
another reason why we're fading Joaquin Buckley.
I mean, he also has Eric Nixick in your corner, and Nixick has proved over the last few weeks not to bet against Nixick fighters. He's very patient, and he likes to fight at a very far range, Buckley, that is. He's going to be at a range where you can't even blitz him, but he will stay way, way out of striking range, and then when he's ready, he's going to blitz in. He needs to do a better job of changing the angles. Sometimes he gets easy to read because he just counts on that one-shot knockout power and walks straight forward, kind of clamps down on his mouthpiece and goes for it. But he does pose a monster power threat. So if he does connect, it's lights out for any opponent that he's facing. I'd like to see him stay out a little more and work behind his jab, since he does have, I believe, solid boxing. He just needs to utilize it more. I think Eric Nixick is going to be able to instill that over him in the last few months, hopefully. But once again, I'm got to remind myself not to just think something's going to happen when, once again, it's been proven that it won't. And Abdul, did you see that head kick knockout? That was impressive. That was beautiful. Yeah. He likes to stalk down his prey, kind of like what I said with Jamahal Hill, lull you into a sense of confidence and then explode. He has tremendous power, but he backs straight up when being pressured, which is something that Buckley might take advantage of. When you back up, Kyle talks about it a lot, you need to circle. If you back straight up, it's very easy to get caught. At our gym, we say don't fight like a bull. because bulls move straight forward and straight back. And if you want to, it's very easy to beat a bull if you just move in a circle. So I'd like to see both these guys do that to better themselves. And his hands are in no man's land. What I mean by that is if your hands are down by your knees, it's harder to see strikes, and that could be effective. Or if your hands are by your face, you can use them as defense. But when they're like in this range, you can't do either. And that's where Abdul keeps his hands, which I don't love. He doesn't look tremendous on the ground as he gets controlled pretty easily. Does a good job of defending takedowns, but once it does get to the ground, it's a bad night for him. If he learns to change the angle and throw, he'll be a very good fighter. But my gut's telling me to take Joaquin Buckley just because I feel like he has slightly I like when a fight's this close, the next thing I look at is their coach. And I'm a huge Eric Nixick supporter, and I think Buckley is going to be able to get the job done.
Really, I see what you're saying about looking at the coach, but Joaquin Buckley has a history of not listening to his coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So
I definitely see where you're coming from.
I have no faith in him to listen to what Eric Nixick, and if I'm not mistaken, this is his first fight with Eric Nixick. No.
Yeah, but also I like fighters. Their first camp under Nixick usually goes well.
True. All right. Well, that's it for the main card. We're going to move on to the prelims, but we're going to move a little bit more quickly through some of the prelim fights. First one, we got Gabriel Benítez Mowgli at plus 132, taking on David Onama minus 162. Yeah, my quick pick for this is going to be David Onama. I thought he was super impressive in his debut against Mason Jones, even though he lost. So I think we're going a little bit out of order on the notes, but the order of the card got rearranged.
That's fine.
From when I made these.
All good.
Anyways, where was I? Yeah, David Onama was super impressive, I thought, in his short notice debut against Mason Jones, who we all know is a very legit contender, guy with great cardio, great power. But David Onama put up a really crazy fight. I believe they got fight of the night. He rocked Mason Jones a couple times. And Gabriel Benítez just missed weight. He looked terrible on the scales. We're recording this shortly after weigh-ins on a Friday. But he looked terrible on the scales. And after that beating he took from Billy Quarantillo, man.
Oof.
Billy Quarantillo is not known as a striker, man. But Billy Quarantillo knocked him down multiple times in that fight. And then ended up finishing him by ground and pound from the back, which you don't see often. So all of that does not inspire confidence for me in Gabriel Benítez, and all of what I saw from David Onama against Mason Jones inspires lots of confidence, so I'm going to go with the boy David Onama.
Yeah, Benítez has great striking offense out of AKA, but the defense is not there. His hands are in no man's land as well. He's able to hit people well and attacks the body quite well, actually. Yeah, his hands are in no man's land. He doesn't really hide the strikes. He doesn't use it as great defense. He has heart, though, as Billy Q hit him with shit that would have knocked the fuck out of everyone else in the division. But Benítez stood up and kept swinging, but then he did kind of cower out at the end. I don't love when fighters get knocked out with the ground and pound from the back. That kind of shows that they were kind of just done, and I don't love seeing that. He does have decent subs, and he does have great sub defense. But then Onama, he is extremely exciting. And I think it's unfair to even call that a short notice fight. That was 4 days. That's insane if anyone doesn't fully understand that. It takes 8 to 10 weeks to get in shape. And this dude took a fight on 4 days, which is ultra impressive. He's very powerful, very wild, and very aggressive, which I love in this new age of MMA is aggressive fighters. He mixes in good technique, but does throw loopy punches, which could be confusing because you don't know if this is going to be a loopy wild punch or if it's going to be a crisp hook around the guard or a crisp straight down the middle. He doesn't defend takedowns particularly well, but he's very strong and very explosive. And one of the most important parts of grappling isn't can you defend a takedown, it's can you get up after a takedown. And Onama showed me that he can definitely get up after he gets taken down. And he immediately starts trading. He doesn't take a break when he gets up. And not even was it 4 days notice for his first fight, it was the most frantic pace I've ever seen. Like, if you look at Oliveira versus Poirier, everyone thought that was a crazy pace. Triple it, and that was the Onama fight. I'm gonna take Onama.
So with a full camp, he's about to go wild.
I'm taking Onama. I think he's going to completely overwhelm Benítez, who I didn't see greatness out of.
Yeah. If you get overwhelmed by Billy Q, you get overwhelmed by David Onama for sure. Moving on. We got Jessie Jess Rose Clark, -200, taking on Stephanie Egger, +160. I think this line is definitely a little bit wide for Rose Clark. I see where the bookies are coming from because Stephanie Egger's kind of old. She's 33, which is getting up there for female MMA.
Jessica's 34.
Jessica's 30. I didn't even see that. Okay,
Yeah.
well, never mind. And I was gonna say her loss to Tracy Cortez looked terrible. And her
Cortez
last
is
win
hot.
against Shayna Young, I don't give a lot of credit to because Shayna Young is terrible.
Yeah.
Stephanie Egger's kind of terrible too. Both these girls are terrible. This is just a low-level female MMA fight. I'm gonna lean towards the favorite, but this is a total no pick for me because Jessica Rose Clark is cute. I like her.
Yeah. I'm riding with Jessica Rose Clark, and I am going to bet on that. She's very good on the ground, and that's exactly where she likes to take the fight. She's going to pressure you, and then she has amazing trip takedowns in the clinch. And then she's not going to try to submit you on the ground. She's going to sit on top of you, and she's going to punch you in the face until you quit.
Yeah, I also wanted to add she's very active on Instagram, and she looks to be in a great mental space right now. She's been talking a lot on Instagram about how she's been working with a therapist to help her not focus on winning and take pressure off of herself, to focus on having fun in the octagon, which we know works well for a lot of fighters like Israel Adesanya, like Kevin Holland. When they can get out of their own heads and have fun, they become very successful. So she definitely seems like that kind of girl. You know, she's always happy-go-lucky, dyeing her hair. She's got the face tattoos, which to me are intimidating on a lot of people, but for her, I think she has them out of fun.
Yeah.
And all she does is fucking power lift. Mm-hmm. She power lifts like a beast.
She's
If you
strong
go
as
check out
fuck.
her Instagram. This girl is strong as fuck. And Stephanie Egger, I mean, yeah, Stephanie Egger's a little twig. She's tiny.
Yeah, you know those type of people where if you give them a hug, you feel like you're getting fucking crushed from the outside in? That's her. And she's going to do that in the clinch. So when she takes someone down, she's going to hold them there. And Edgar has decent striking, but she's usually way too out of range to land her strikes anyway. She backs up with her hands up, but doesn't throw punches while going backwards. She fought off a heel hook well, but I don't think that's really going to be in the cards against Jessica. She's very calm on the ground. She's a pretty basic fighter who's going to get beat by Jessica Rose Clark straight up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, so we're in agreement on that one. Moving on, we got Chaz Skelly -215 versus Mark Striegl at odds of +172. Mark Striegl having his second UFC fight. Got knocked out by Said Nurmagomedov in his last fight.
Who doesn't?
And Chaz Skelly, man, this fight completely flew under my radar. I'm just looking at it now.
Yeah,
Why don't you lead us off?
Chaz Skelly's not old. He's older. This is his first fight since the Gaethje Cowboy card in 2019. He's a wrestler. I've never seen a card with more guys coming off of losses. I feel like every time I went to do film study, there was 2 or 3 losses on the back end for all of these guys. Once the fight goes to the ground, he has the advantage against most people. He moves position to position well and throws good strikes on the ground. He stays on failed subs way too long, which is a major red flag for me. He wasted energy in that last fight. He literally tried to finish a rear naked choke for 2 minutes while he was in mount, which made absolutely no sense to me. It was clear he wasn't getting the sub, and he wasted all of his cardio that was already terrible. The cardio is a real issue for him as he looks slow and sluggish through half a round, and I never like after the first round when a guy puts his hands on his knees and waits for his corner to get there because it looked bad. And once the cardio hits, he starts getting pieced up on the feet. His strikes are slow with okay technique, but everyone and their grandma knows what strike's coming next for him. And then Mark Striegl, he got caught by Said Nurmagomedov, but let's be honest, who doesn't get caught by Said? There's really no tape on this guy, but he seems to have sick BJJ and subs a fuck ton of people. He's very athletic, but like I said, really no idea how good he is. So it's really hard for me to pick since I haven't seen a lot of Mark Striegl. But my guess is Striegel's going to take this because of the inactivity from Chaz, and I think it's just going to be. I think from what I've seen, Striegl has the advantage in most parts of the fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right, moving on. We got Diana Belbiţă, -110, taking on Gloria de Paula, -110, a straight pick 'em. Yeah, I'm going to go Diana Belbiţă. She's a very talented kickboxer. She knows how to keep her range and use it. Her last win over Hannah Goldie, I thought she looked great. She was an underdog for that win, and I won some money on her. So now at a straight pick-'em line, I'm definitely going to take her again. I just remember not being super impressed at all by Gloria de Paula. She fights out at Box, which is the champion Charles Oliveira's team, but it doesn't look like a lot of that style was rubbed off on her. She just got knocked out pretty poorly by Cheyenne Vlismas now, who used to be Cheyenne Baez, but either way, the War Princess.
She got her shit rocked in that fight.
Absolutely rocked.
That's my favorite knockout of all time now.
And then her loss against Jin Yu Frey, she just looked weak, and it looked like Jin Yu Frey pushed her around the entire fight. So, yeah, at a straight pick'em, I'm going to go with the girl with crisp striking to probably get the knockout again.
Yeah, just a quick note for anyone listening. If you are in a fight, I don't care if it's a sanctioned fight or a bar fight, if you are on the ground, you have to protect yourself when you stand up. There is someone standing across from you who is looking to kill you. This fucking Gloria stood up with both of her hands on the mat and just ate a shin to the teeth. But Belbiţă, she's very young. She had a tough start to her UFC career. She's 1-2, but her last fight showed promise to me. She's clearly a good striker and proficient in Muay Thai. She's very good at throwing combos, which I love. I don't like one-punch wonders. She seems in every fight to have one or two combos in her head, and that's what she throws. In her last fight, it was a 1-2 leg kick. That's all she threw, and fuck it, it worked. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's not a ton of variety in her striking, but like I said, when she does throw, it lands. Seems to be okay on the ground. Definitely not her strong suit. She's also very good at pressuring fighter. And she's often moving forward, but she did get caught with the rose kick, and I call the rose kick the inside leg kick, and then the high kick, because that's what Rose did to Zhang in the first fight. And then Gloria de Paula, she's hot as fuck, may I add. She's 0-2 in the UFC. The boxer in me cringed because her elbows were so out wide. It made it look like she was trying to fly away. It was so bad that I even texted a picture to my boxing coach. And the reason you don't want to do that is because it's easier to see strikes if your elbows are out there, and it's also easier to get kicked in the body, especially from a kickboxer like Diana. And Gloria's body is not designed to take kicks. Her body looks great, but it's not designed to be kicked. And I just think each one of her skill sets is one tick below Belbiṭă, so that's why I'm taking Belbiṭă here as well.
Cool. Yeah. So we are getting close to an hour in time. We've got 3 fights left. I think I'm just going to run through and give my picks for these fights. If you have anything really important you want to talk about for the 3 fights.
Go ahead.
You can add them, but we got Jesse Strader at... Oh, my notes are all messed up. Jesse Strader at +220, taking on Chad Anneliger, -280. I'm going Jesse Strader, underdog pick. I really like this pick. Yeah. Then we got... Where am I? Jonathan Pearce at -340, taking on Christian Rodriguez, +260. I'm going with the favorite, Jonathan Pearce. And then finally, we got Mario Bautista, -280. Versus Jay Perrin at +220. I'm going to go with the favorite as well. In Mario Bautista, anything jump out at you in those 3 fights you got to touch on?
Yeah, Chad Ellinger. I'm actually going to take him. He has tremendous heart. Not many guys go 2-5 and then rattle off 9 straight wins, finishing 7 of them. Jesse Strader throws a lot of blind leg kicks, which we've seen in previous cards, especially that Cheaty fight doesn't go well. So I'm actually going to take Chad here. What were the other fights? Oh, the Bautista fight. He's an interesting striker. Sorry, my notes are messed up as well. Who's Mario fighting? Oh, is he fighting Taha?
He's fighting Jay Perrin.
I'll get that to you in the when we post our picks. And then I'm going to take Pearce against Rodriguez. Rodriguez very raw. There's not much tape on him, so I have to go with the guy that I've seen more. So I'm going to go with Jonathan Pearce.
Hell yeah. All right, moving on to our closing segment. We're going to give you our best bets of the week. That is one straight pick, one prop pick, one parlay. For my straight pick, I'm going the dog Jim Miller plus 140. What about you?
I'm going to go with David Onama. And then if you really want a good money, I would take Baudot or Baudot knockout.
Okay. And then for prop pick, I'm going to go Abdul Razak Alhassan by knockout, which I think is around plus 250 right now on most markets. What about you?
I'm going to go Motta finish or Jessica Rose fight going the distance.
I like that. And then for my parlay, I'm going to put together a 4-legger because I had a lot of success with that last week. I'm going Jessica Rose Clark. I'm going Jonathan Pearce. I'm going Parker Porter, and I'm going Kyle Daukus. What about you?
I'm going to give you guys a high risk, very high reward parlay with Baudot, Buckley, Rose, and maybe throw in Jamahal Hill.
Okay, I like it. All right, guys, this has been another episode of the Family Fights podcast. We're just getting back into the swing of things. Thank you for your patience. College is kicking my ass right now, but I'm still excited to give you guys some content. Matthew, you got anything to add?
Nope. We apologize about the last 2 episodes getting out not on time, but like Kyle said, ups and downs, we got through it, and we're going to keep powering through.
Hell yeah. All right, guys, enjoy the fights. Have a great weekend.
All right, have a great day, everyone. The Family Fights podcast will be releasing every Friday and every Monday. In those episodes, we will look back at the most recent card, give updates and predictions on the UFC and other MMA organizations. If you guys want to reach out, the Twitter and Instagram is the Family Fights Pod, or you can reach out at familyfightspodcast@gmail.com. Have a wonderful day.
Family fights. Let's do it.